Hello, I'm James Knight. I am founder of Gentle Somatic Yoga. Today I'm going to guide you through 3 somatic movement flows. The anatomical focus is going to be the neck, shoulders, and upper back. Now most adults, that's where we carry a lot of our stress, especially those that work a lot of time on the computer. So I wanted to give you a couple of tips and guidelines before we begin. First of all, please move slowly and smooth. Always have the attitude of exploration and discovery. In other words, as you're doing the movements, keep your focus inward, first-person experience. Notice the feelings from the inside out. Also, once you get the hang of the movements, I would encourage you to close your eyes just to encourage that interoception, feeling the internal felt sensation. Okay, so let's begin. This first somatic movement flow is called Celtic Cross. So please lie on your right side with your knees bent perpendicular from your hips and your ankles perpendicular to your knees. If you have a blanket or a bolster or a pillow, you can put it here on top of your, for your head to rest on. I'm going to rest my head on my shoulder. So placing your left arm on your side body and focusing just on the muscles of the muscles behind your shoulder. So the first movement is to rotate the arm back so that you can feel your shoulder blade going back towards the spine, squeeze and hug the muscles in, and then slowly come out back to neutral, release all muscular effort. And again, you can roll your arm palm facing upward, squeeze the muscles behind your shoulder blade, and slowly unwind back to neutral and pause. Good. And now change the vector. So change the angle in which you bring your shoulder blade back. Feel free to arch your lower back if you'd like, and slowly come out. And rest. Very important to rest between each repetition. I'm going to guide you through one more. This time I'm going to bring my shoulder blade down and back. And again, like I said at the introduction, just explore and discover different parts of your soma that you might not have felt so distinctly before. Rest. Okay, moving on. Please roll your shoulder forward, and this time you're engaging the muscles in front of the chest, the pectoralis muscle group, and come back to neutral. So the wrist stays on your hip, and you're rolling your shoulder forward, tucking your thumb, squeezing the muscles in front of your heart, and slowly come back to neutral and pause. Again, change the angle. This time I'm going to choose to roll my shoulder more towards my collarbone, and that helps access some of the muscles from the neck that connect down into the rib cage, and back to neutral. One more time, I'm going to roll down this time a little bit, down towards my lower ribs. Feel and sense that muscle engagement, and mindfully come back to neutral and pause. All right, moving on. We have 2 more vectors, 2 more angles. This time reach your hand down your side body. At the same time you bring your arm down, you can tilt your hip towards your armpit and come out of that nice and smooth and release all muscular effort. Again, pick a different angle in the way that you bring your arm down. This time I'm coming in front slightly and back to neutral. So now I'm feeling the muscles on my side body, the latissimus, the obliques, and I can also feel my transverse abdominal muscle group. Okay, and pause. One more time, I'm going to bring my hand down this time a little bit, accessing another muscle group, keeping your head down, and release and pause. Last piece of the instruction is to bring your shoulder towards your ear and your ear towards your shoulder. And then come back to neutral, release all muscular effort. Now we're aiming for the muscles on top of the shoulder, levator scapula, upper trapezius. So hug those muscles in towards themselves, shortening the muscle, and then slowly come down, lengthening those muscles, and release. Let's pick 2 more angles. This time I'm going to bring my shoulder more towards my cheek, maybe even turn my head, and slowly come down. So we're also repatterning the muscles of the neck now, the SCM and the scalenes, and letting go. There's also an option not to lift your head. If you've ever had neck injuries or you're suffering from chronic neck pain, then you can also leave your head down. So this is an option. So my neck feels safe today, so I'm just going to explore one more vector, this time bringing my shoulder towards the back of my ear, slowly and smoothly coming down, and release all muscular effort. Beautiful. And now connecting all 4 points, I call this an integration movement. So bring your shoulder blade back, behind, down, and forward. So big, round, smooth circles. Some of you may feel clicking, popping, ratcheting. You might even feel like part of your circle is not accessible with feeling or sensation. So for example, as I go around, I am losing a little bit of connection with my soma right about here. So I'm going to create micro movements and just sense and feel this part of the movement. Just for a little bit. And sure enough, there's some shaking. So that's what I know that that's a sign of sensory-motor amnesia, which I'll get to in another part of the video. Bring the shoulder blade back, explaining sensory-motor amnesia. I'll explain that a little bit later. But for now, just keep exploring now in the opposite direction. So the shoulder blade goes back and up, forward and down. There's also a slight undulation of the spine, letting your head move freely, and just explore. Again, if there's any bumps or clicking, then you know that you're on the right track to erase old patterns of holding stress and stiffness in your body. Now I'm feeling a little bit of shakiness here, so I'm going to go back and forth, micro movements, and see what I can do to fill in those gaps. Make it so that it's smooth. And this is how we're repatterning those muscles from the level of the brain. We're enhancing, we're strengthening neuroplasticity, and we're also making new neuropathways so that we can regain control of those muscles again that were tight. All right, so come back to neutral, pause, and then please lie on your back. So lying on your back is also part of the way that we repattern our muscles, because I'm going to ask you to do a Soma scan, and feeling from the inside out, notice if your left shoulder and side body feel different than the right. Some of the things that I notice is that my left shoulder feels closer to the earth. It feels more open and light, and this side feels almost like inflated, and I can even feel the muscle contraction on my right side because we haven't done that side yet. So this is definitely part of the neuroscience behind Gentle Somatic Yoga, is allowing the brain to learn through contrast. Okay, and now let's do the other side. Okay, now we're going to do the other side of the right side. And I mentioned to you that I'd like to talk a little bit about sensory-motor amnesia. Sensory-motor amnesia is when we have temporarily lost voluntary control over a muscle group. Now, most of you, if you place your hand on top of your shoulder and you feel around, you're going to feel some knots, some tightness. So what's happening is those muscles are contracting on automatic pilot. That means even in a resting position, those muscles are engaged. Even with the best intentions with massage and acupuncture and chiropractic, the muscles have a reflex of holding tension. So sensory-motor amnesia is an important concept to understand in Gentle Somatic Yoga, because we're erasing that. We're reprogramming the brain-to-muscle connection, and the result is, in a resting position, the muscles are unbound and they're in their optimal length. That's the goal. Okay, so let's explore this side. And that's also why you feel, this is also why you feel a difference between your left and right, because those muscles are longer and more, they're in homeostasis. Okay, so let's try this side. So please lie on your left side with your right arm on top of your hip. The knees is as if you're sitting in a chair sideways. This just provides a nice firm base. And let's start exploring. So roll your shoulder blade back towards the spine. Identify by sensing the muscle group, and slowly unwind. And if you know your muscle groups right now, if you bring your shoulder blade straight back, we're engaging the rhomboid muscles and the paravertebral muscle groups. And neutral. Let's change direction just slightly. So I'm going to choose to bring my shoulder back and up. And now I'm experiencing a little more of the upper trapezius. Roll the palm facing down and let go. So aim for a muscle group that might feel a little bit stiff. You don't need to know the name of the muscle. Just sense and feel. It's almost like when you get to a certain when you feel into a certain muscle group and you're like, oh, that feels good. Hold it there and then mindfully unwind, pause and release all muscular contraction. All right, now let's reverse the movement and roll the shoulder blade forward. Again, now we're activating the pectoralis muscle groups. Squeeze, hug, and mindfully disengage. Come to neutral. Very important to come to neutral. If we were just to continue to go back and forth without stopping, then we would not be repatterning the brain to muscle connection. That would just be considered an exercise, whereas this is considered a re-education. All right, so let's try another angle. I'm going to roll my thumb underneath and bring my shoulder blade down and in towards my sternum. I'm going to sense and feel that, and then mindfully unwind and pause. Last time, this time I'm going to roll my shoulder in towards my collarbone, intending to activate more of the muscles that's coming down through my, the muscles coming from the neck down underneath the collarbone, attaching to the ribs. Squeeze and unwind and release. Beautiful. Now let's explore the muscles between the hip, the armpit and the hip. So shorten that distance by reaching, tilting the hip, and slowly come back to neutral. Pause. In this video, I have my eyes closed, and this is what I would be doing on my own if I was practicing at home, and I'm encouraging you to do as well. The sun is right there, so I'm not able to look at the camera, but this is actually true to the Gentle Somatic Yoga practice, is we're continually developing our inner awareness to sense and feel. And this is also how we're going to be able to make generative choices when we're not on the mat and practicing. Because through your own sensing, you're picking up messages from your body and correcting something closer to the cause, which could be a problem later if you're experiencing stress. So one more angle. I've been changing the angle while I've been talking. This time I'm going to reach down and behind and back to neutral and pause. And what I meant by what I just said is that, you know, our body's giving us messages all the time, and in other words, of stress. And if we override those messages, that's what creates sensory motor amnesia. That's what creates the knots and the tight spaces. So what I intended to say earlier was, by developing this internal muscle called interoception, it's not an actual physical muscle, it's the muscle of awareness. Another way to say it is you're increasing your intuition. This is how we're going to keep free in our bodies. Okay, and now exploring the muscles up on the upper back and the upper shoulder area. And if your neck again feels safe, then please feel free to lift your ear towards your shoulder and your shoulder towards your ear. Pause for a moment to feel those muscles engaging, and then mindfully disengaging as the head comes down and the arm comes back to a neutral position. And try again. I'm going to change the angle slightly by bringing my shoulder blade back and tilting my head back slightly and safely, coming back to neutral and release. And then I'm going to explore maybe coming forward a little bit. You know, in Gentle Somatic Yoga, the invitation is to create intuitive movements for yourself. I'm giving you the basic instructions, like to lift your ear to your shoulder and your shoulder towards your ear, and always feel free to move in a way that feels best for your body. And come back to neutral and rest. All right, and now create some big round circles. I'm going to bring the shoulder blade back, up, forward, and down. The intent is to make this round, a big, round, smooth circle, guiding and leading with the muscles surrounding the shoulder. The arm is just following along. There's no need to lift your hand up off your side body. Just let your hand rest on your side body. And this helps isolate the muscles of the shoulder. And then reverse. So oftentimes in my clinical practice where people come and see me one-on-one, many people have stiff shoulders and pain, even chronic pain in the neck. Some people have frozen shoulder. So this movement sequence, Celtic Cross, is a great way to dissolve sensory motor amnesia. And I've coined a new term, sensory motor awakening. And that means that we regain control of those muscles so that in a resting position, like I mentioned before, the muscles are going to be long and neutral. So pause and rest. And now lie on your back and notice the difference between your sides. So adjust your clothes so that you're comfortable. Maybe take a cleansing breath. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Notice how the right shoulder and side body feels. And perhaps now you feel a little more even between left and right shoulder and side body. Just spend a moment in a Soma scan. Become witness consciousness. Be the observer. And just allow your energy to free flow from head to toe. And while you're laying here, just imagine that you're a hollow piece of bamboo and the prana is just flowing through all of your joints and muscles and bones and fluids freely, creating more space. Okay, good. All right, so now we're going to move on. Now I'm going to teach you the somatic neck release and looking over your shoulder. So please roll over to your side and back to a sitting position. From this sitting position, please roll over onto your stomach and bring your hands a little wider than shoulder width apart and a little higher than shoulder width apart. So we're going to start by bringing the face, your right cheek to the floor, and just rest for a moment. From here, mindfully lift your head so that your cheek is parallel, in this case, to the sky, but it might be the ceiling for you. And then now from here, tuck your chin and slowly and smoothly bring it over, rotate it to the right side and pause, and then slowly lower your cheek to the floor. And release all muscular effort. Mindfully lift the head. We're going to pause here. Notice where you feel it in the neck and the upper back. You can also tuck your pelvis under slightly to gain length in the lower spine. So tuck the chin, pause, and slowly and smoothly come down as you witness those muscles dissolving and release all muscular effort. We're only going to do 2 more. Lift your head, pause. Notice where you feel the muscles engaging. Tuck the chin to create length in the cervical spine. Pause and slowly come down. Last time, lift the head, pause, tuck the chin. And if this is straining your neck to come into this fullest range of motion, feel free to bring your head down in an angle and then release. Letting go. So moving from here into looking over your shoulder. So first, with your head down, I'm going to lift my head a little bit so I can talk through without covering the mic, because I want to make sure that you can hear this. So your neck muscles are relaxed, but the first thing you do is lift the elbow, and then lift the head and look over the shoulder as if you were driving, looking to turn lanes. You're seeing if it's clear. And then slowly come down. And as you come down, let the elbow come down and the head come down and the neck muscles relax. Again, lift the elbow first. Pick a different angle to bring your shoulder blade back. Hug a different set of muscles. Feel that. Slowly come back down and release. Last time, bend the elbow. Come back at a different angle. Squeeze and hug the muscles in towards the bones and slowly come out and release all muscular effort. Let's change sides. So let's do the somatic neck release. Tuck the chin, Mindfully rotate the head to the opposite direction and lower your the left side of your face to the floor. Bend the elbow, pause, pick an angle in which you bring your head and shoulder back, looking over the shoulder, pause, mindfully come out slow and smooth, and release. Again, lift the elbow, pause, find a different way to bring your head and shoulder back. We always like to change the vector or the angle with each repetition whenever you can with Gentle Somatic Yoga so that we keep our brain alert and release, relax. Part of the neuroscience is to activate the sensory motor cortex, part of the brain. That's where we can regain voluntary control of the muscles. And to do that, as we witness, we watch, we mindfully turn muscles on and we mindfully turn muscles off. Excellent. So we did about 3 repetitions each side, and I'd like to invite you to roll onto your back for one final Soma scan. Adjust your clothes so that you're comfortable on the floor, palms facing up. Take a cleansing breath, inhale. Maybe roll your head left and right just to make sure that you're not holding any tension in the neck and shoulder muscles. And then just pause and enjoy the benefits of your efforts just by witnessing the sensations. For the sake of this video, I'm going to do a very short Soma scan. When you're on your own, feel free to take longer, anywhere up to 2 to 5 minutes. And when you're ready, you can roll back to a sitting position. And I just want to thank you for following me. This is a fantastic set to do several times a week if you have chronic tension and pain in your shoulder and neck. Then over time, the effects are cumulative. So each time you practice the somatic movement flows, you're solidifying the new pattern, which is a lengthened muscle in a resting position. So again, thanks for joining me. Namaste.